Welcome to Inside Arm Wrestling, the home, folks, for all news on arm wrestling, fitness, strength, sports, and competitions. It is Friday. We're having fun this week. Not a lot of big announcements in the world of arm wrestling. We certainly kicked off the week on Wednesday with a AFC, NFC Super Bowl prediction for arm wrestling with the quarterbacks of each team. We go into Friday. We're going to kind of carry the theme, folks. And today, in the midst of social media and entertainment drama, we are going to tackle a super match between Megan Thee Stallion and Nikkiminaj. That's right, folks. Megan Thee Stallion, Nikkiminaj. We're going to go best of 5. We're going to look at them statistically, and we're going to kind of look at why these two match up in such a dramatic fashion. And that really kicks off with the most recent drop of Megan Thee Stallion's single called Hiss. Now, folks, let me clue you in on something. I don't listen to much radio. Most of you know that. I have no idea that this feud was going on until I was told by some young people out there, certainly younger than my 53-year-old nature, that there was this big feud between Megan Thee Stallion and Nikkiminaj that has dropped because of her song called Hiss, in which she says that Kenneth Petty, a.k.a. Nicki Minaj's husband, is basically not worth Nicki's time and people's time because of his past as a Megan's Law offender. He is listed as a Tier 2 Megan's Law offender. Folks, I'm not going to get into the criminal case of this individual. I do know it was when he was 15 or 16 with another 15 or 16-year-old. I do not know any of the insides of the case. I can't say anything as to what he claims to be true or the victim claims to be true. He was convicted in a court of law. To me, that means that the defendant, the young lady, was exonerated in her account of what happened and that he is guilty. I don't look favorably upon anyone that's found guilty of any kind of sexual predator, whether they're 15 years old or 50 years old. I think it's disgusting. It's certainly something that society should have zero tolerance for. But we'll say this at the very offset of it. I don't know enough about that criminal case to make any kind of other determination other than the young lady was exonerated and was the victim of that crime, which we always look to give our hearts and our sympathies and our prayers to any victim of a crime of such nature. Which we would then say, why would someone like Nikkiminaj, who's at the pinnacle of her career and certainly would not need such a determining social media mark against her, chose Kenneth Petty? Again, folks, I don't know the insides of it. Doing a little bit of cursory review, it has been said that this was her childhood sweetheart and they rekindled a love affair. They have a child together now as well. So they're together. It is what it is. Megan Thee Stallion puts a shot out across. And then I'm told that Nikkiminaj states in some sort of fashion for Megan Thee Stallion to be able to stand on her one good foot with it, which then I found out through a little digging that I guess Megan Thee Stallion was shot in the foot. Again, folks, some of this stuff just escapes me. But I think it's great to be able to put both of these two at the forefront of a super match extraordinaire. Certainly something that we'll have some fun with. And let's look at the statistics. I think the very first statistic that we really want to look at is what they're worth. Right, folks? Because at the end of the day, we all know that arm wrestlers are basically as good as their bankroll. The more wealthy arm wrestlers are going to be able to take the better gear, take the better supplements, make more practices, travel around quite a bit more. So wealth does have something to do with it. And at $75 million reported net worth, Nikkiminaj is a cool $61 million greater than Megan Thee Stallion, who has 14 million reported net worth in her arsenal of bankroll to be able to compete, the edge definitely goes to Nikkiminaj on wealth. So we're going to put a check mark on the 75 million side of Nikkiminaj, and we're going to go down the list and get to the best of 5. Now, folks, I want to take a look at where they're from. We do know that where you're from and where you're going in the world of arm wrestling has everything to do with your success. Of course, I'm laughing at that. However, we have to be able to draw some sort of comparisons here. And from San Antonio, Texas, home of greats such as Greg Gray, Dustin DeWoody, Ian Wagner, guys who train in the Austin, San Antonio area. Certainly Grandma Rose out there from San Antonio. Lots of great arm wrestlers from the San Antonio area. I think Dustin Laughlin and Billy Ortegas is from the San Antonio area, Austin area. I'll lump San Antonio and Austin all into one shot. They're within close enough proximity that we'll call that a geographical tie-in. From San Antonio, Texas, Megan the Stallion certainly has some pedigree. She would be represented from the Texas Arm Wrestling League. A lot of great arm wrestlers in her corner. And we head over to Nikkiminaj from Port of Spain, Trinidad and Tobago. Folks, I'm not going to lie. I have never heard of a champion arm wrestler from Trinidad and Tobago. It doesn't mean that he or she doesn't exist. I just haven't heard from them. And in this case, since there's no one to be heard from, we are going to give the upper hand in this one to Megan the Stallion from San Antonio, Texas. Certainly a decisive win in pedigree of table time and practice. So we are tied at 1-1. We're going to move on to next. Height. Folks, let me tell you something. Megan the Stallion is not a short woman by any means. At 5'10" and the arms of a 5'10" woman, the elbow to fingertip in her case is dwarfing the 5'2" Nikkiminaj. 5'2", we have to assume that Nikkiminaj is going to bring in one of our platforms in order to get some height on the table. She's going to be at a severe disadvantage, and she will not be able to get that hip bone to the pad to get any kind of leverage or any kind of movement of leverage with the body. At 5'10", Megan the Stallion is going to dwarf over her. She is going to load up to the center, and as a great Travis Bagent would explode off of a high start, I've got to give the upper hand to Megan the Stallion at 5'10". And now, folks, as we go into the fourth category, we're going to talk about height. It is 2-1 Megan the Stallion. Excuse me. We're going to talk about age. I can't go back because we're taping live and correct that. We're going to talk about age. And at 28 years young, Megan the Stallion is a novice. She may have only started pulling for a few years, maybe only in the amateurs at this point, or as some might call the semi-pros. A 28-year-old is not going to be someone that's been around the table for a long time versus the 41-year-old senior statesman in Nikkiminaj, someone that would preferably or actually presumably have much more table time, someone who's perfected many moves. She might go with a 30-degree sweep. She might top roll. She might side pressure. She might low hand top roll. She might go into a hook. Nikkiminaj at 41 years old definitely takes the check mark and advantage there. We've got to assume that she's got more table time at this point than Megan the Stallion, tying it up at 2-2. And folks, like any good social media battle would have it, we're going to go to the social media platforms and we are going to take the top 2 recording YouTube videos that we see. We're not going to dig this too deep, but from what we see, and this will be the deciding factor to break the tie. As we look at Megan the Stallion, we saw her video body had 157 million views. Folks, that's a lot of views. However, if you go to WAP, her collaboration with Cardi B, That video has amassed 521 million views. Definitely getting some wet something and something. 521 is a 500 million or better views. That is a statistic that's going to be hard to overcome. However, Nikkiminaj is not to be defeated today. We look at SuperBase at 1 billion views. 1 billion views on her single SuperBase eclipses the body release of 157 million views, almost a 10-to-1 ratio. And folks, we are going to take her collaboration of Anaconda at 1.1 billion. 2.1 billion views in total between her two versus the 680 million, am I bad, folks, views. Almost a 3-to-1 decision in favor of Nikkiminaj. And folks, for today's episode, we are going to give the nod, albeit a questionable nod in terms of some of her decision making, at least at face value, and putting herself in a position to have this match. But still, Nikkiminaj at 3-2 wins the super match and takes this week's super match of stars by the score of 3-2, leaving Megan Thee Stallion to go back, get some more table time, produce some more views. But let me tell you, folks, at 5'10" and 28 years old, she's got a definite career in front of her to make this a rematch down the road. So again, folks, another fun time here at Inside Arm Wrestling. Just some nonsense here. Who knows who would actually win here between these two? But that doesn't matter. We've got some content. You listen, we've got you. So that does it for another episode of Inside Arm Wrestling News Report. This has been Greg Sharp, reminding you to train hard, pull smart, and lift safe. Folks, if you like these stories and you want to see more, please hit the like button and subscribe to our page. Also hit the notification bell underneath the video so that way you're notified every time a new video comes out. And if you're on social media, specifically Instagram, go to the World Series of Arm Wrestling Instagram page. Please follow it. We'll try to follow you back, but it'll keep you up to date with all of the news and events in the world of arm wrestling.